There are people who tune into this that come and get business advice, but there's also a faith aspect. So when I think of you as a modern day Joseph.
I think everybody need to have one person in the Bible that they see themselves as. The Joseph story has always been my story.
I don't think we've fully even seen the impact of your work yet. Welcome to another episode of Live the Grace Life. I'm your host, Corey Holman, and today we have an exciting episode ready for you. We have Farmer Fredo joining us from Flint River Fresh. He's been doing farming, small-scale farming, for close to 20 years, and he's been the executive director of Flint River Fresh for the last 9 years. And let me tell you something. If you've been in Southwest Georgia, you have seen the work. You've probably seen him on a billboard somewhere, and you've seen the impact that his organization is making all around, really, Georgia and beyond. And so let's welcome today Farmer Fredo.
Thank you for having me in the building, I guess.
Yes. How you doing today, sir?
It's like I always like to tell people, it's another day, another opportunity to get dirty, another opportunity to serve, and, I'm just thankful for the platform just to kind of share the work, because a lot of times people don't really get to see me in this sort of light, and it kind of reminds me of just sitting like on my grandparents' porch, doing like a family reunion and just, talking about the business.
Yeah. So Farmer Fredo has been inspiring, and he's inspired me and many others. I haven't seen your full journey, but I know in the last few years I've watched it, and it's just like, who is this guy? It's like, there are just certain people you just know they got the favor of God. Like, God has favored Farmer Fredo so much. I remember when I first started seeing billboards, I'm like, who is this gentleman? Like, everywhere I go, every corner. And I'm like, God has opened so many doors for you, and it's inspiring seeing how you have innovated the space of farming. You really have.
Well, it's God's grace, like how you said, because I didn't start off on this path at all. When I went off to college, I went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. I had aspirations of getting into marketing and sales.
Whoa.
At that point in time, I was working for Sony Music and BMG. And so I was doing marketing, sales for Jive Records, J Records, some of the most well-known record labels. This was at the apex of like the boy band era. So you had everything from Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. This is just when like Outkast was just kind of starting to come out, and I really thought that I would be like an executive vice president of like a major record label doing marketing and sales, but at the time, like we say, God had other plans.
Yeah.
So people went from buying cassette tapes and CDs and vinyl to getting everything digital. And so like when Napster kicked in, people started getting things more on demand, record stores started closing, and that was the division that I was in. And so I literally lost my job. I didn't necessarily know what a pension was or to take the money. I was like, I'll just stay around, maybe something better come around, and I lost everything. And so I had to do like some soul searching. Like I remember laying on my apartment's floor, just crying out to God about like, what can I do? And I always just remember the conversation I had with him is that if I ever get an opportunity to be in the spotlight or to put people in the spotlight, I want to make sure that Jesus is number one and God that you're everything. And it took a lot of humility, breaking point, times where I had to spend the night on friends' couches because I still thought I was supposed to be a music executive. And I was blessed to be with a crew that introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Reverend James Orange and Reverend Joseph Lowry. And so these were part of Dr. King's inner circle.
Okay.
And they introduced me to servant leadership, right? And like I never was like a power to the people sort of guy. I love to read Dr. King's books. I love the Black Panther story. I love empowerment, right? But I never was like that. Just wasn't my thing, you know, because I was a person of humanity, person about all races, all backgrounds, all creeds, everything. Always was like how I moved. And Reverend Orange, he was just like a big bear of a man with a big berry voice.
Yeah.
And he just showed me how we can walk the gospel and just be a shoulder for anybody like to lean on.
Yeah.
And so that experience just shaped me that I just want to just serve people. Like that's all I desired. And through service, like they would do this thing in Atlanta, like Hosea Feed the Hungry. They would do like senior events where they would feed senior citizens. And I was just naturally attracted to food, right? And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she had made like a soul food cookbook that had a picture of me like at 2 or 3 years old with a piece of potato salad on my cheek. And we're from Plains, Georgia, so Jimmy Carter country.
Yeah.
And as I started this journey, I was like, you know, I never planted anything before. I never grew a vegetable or anything before. But my mother always used to tell these stories about me running through my granddaddy's garden, getting stung by bees, me taking watermelons and just busting them open and eating them ripe in the field.
Yeah.
Me shelling peas and stuff for my grandmother and how she remembers me just doing that all the time with joy, not like grudgery or anything like that. So she always jokes about me being the earth baby.
Yeah.
Like outside making mud pies, the kid that would be fascinated by sun showers and just look at outside like, oh, it's raining, but the sun's out, all those. And I just walked in it, right? And I was just blessed to, in my transition, to come across an intentional Christian community called Koinonia Farms in Americas, right? And they were based upon like racial harmony, blacks and whites working together, supporting each other financially, making sure people had adequate housing, and it allowed for me to see the gospel as something tangible versus just a story that just sounded good, right? And I can go on and on, Corey. So
No, you're good.
Okay, all right.
This is good.
Okay, all right. And so through Koinonia, this began like, you know, I always call it like the Jesus year. When you're talking about like 30, you're kind of like, what is my ministry? What am I really about, right?
No, well, stop. Were you age 30 during that time?
I was like hitting close to 30.
Wow.
And did the music thing, all that stuff was going. And at Koinonia, they had like a little small kitchen garden. So they basically allow for you to have prayer time, to dive deep into the Word of God through like devotionals. And it's like their current business is pecans. So it's surrounded by pecan orchards. And there were two gentlemen there. One of them was Bud Styles. He was like an older black man, like my height, had like a southern drawl. And there was another black man, Bone Harris, Reverend Norris Harris, but I call him Bone. And they just talked about farming, and it just made sense to me. And so I would watch YouTube videos, I would read agricultural books, and there was another gentleman there, Brandon, who was like an Irishman, and he was like the same creed, but he was into like animals and stuff. And so literally, they said we have a kitchen garden at Koinonia every day at noon, and they still do it today. They serve a meal that anybody that's on campus can participate, eat. And I just used to grow vegetables, but the vegetables I planted were all the vegetables that I saw in my grandmother's cookbook. And it was just like Southern comfort food. And literally I started just growing. And at Koinonia, it's the birthplace for Habitat for Humanity. And so during spring breaks, you had all these college kids and people that were doing more research about Habitat, how it was founded, that would come to Koinonia for lunch, and I just remembered people eating the food and saying, "Man, I've never had a tomato taste like this," or "I've never known squash to taste like this," or "Man, these cucumbers just fresh." And so the praise they were giving me was like motivation, and that's what started propelling me. Like, I'm really blessed to do this, and I really like the idea of people of all backgrounds or humanity sitting down at a table and hearing the word of God, but also just sharing each other's stories and having something in common just for that 10, 15 minutes, right? And I've always just felt like if you could just get the world, like the pause, whether it's like Sunday, Saturday, whatever it might be, sit down at a table together. Dr. King always talked about the common table, and just talk to each other how many differences can be removed, and more of our things we have in common could be shared, and maybe we could utilize this as a foundation for making the world just a better place. I'd like to keep it simple. So that's kind of it to now.
No, you're good. No, I mean, it's, and I've been to that place. I got a chance to sit down and eat the meal and listen to the stories and meet different people. Me and Asher went, I think that was last year at some time. And so we got to experience it. And so I had no clue that you had been through that experience. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest with you. And then I brought up your name, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we know." Yeah, so the director, I can't remember the lady's name, but
Brand.
Yes,
Brand
yes.
Dubé, yeah.
And so she knew of you, and like, I'm thinking I'm introducing. They're like, "Y'all need to check out Farmer Fredo," and then she's like, "Oh, we already know Farmer Fredo," but
I stayed out there for 6 years.
yeah.
So it wasn't just like a flyby. Like, I literally lived on campus.
Yeah.
Woke up every morning from 7 o'clock until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And like I tell, matter of fact, I just this summer they did a youth camp. It was called like The Earth is the Lord's, and it was based on Psalms 24 verses 1 through 2, where the earth is the Lord and everything within it. And literally for 5 days, we had 13 young kids between the ages of, the youngest one was 9, the oldest one was 15. And each day we had a different theme related to the scripture. But, my background is all about agriculture, conservation, and you heard me speak already about just treating humanity fair.
Yeah.
And so each day with these young people, we dove deep into, we even had like a gentleman from like a Native American community come in to speak. And so I wouldn't be Farmer Fredo without the Koinonia experience, right? Like, that wouldn't, like who I am is so ingrained into the land of Koinonia, 1324 Georgia Highway 49 South in Americus, Georgia. And so, and I'm also learning too that Koinonia also gives a place of renewal, a place of restoration. And I was telling people in the barbershop, like, when you go out there, you can have a cell phone, but it might not quite work because there's probably no signal.
Oh, yeah.
So it naturally makes you detach from the busyness of computers and things like that. And it was beautiful watching these young kids spend their free time, playing soccer, playing volleyball, playing basketball, playing Uno, Monopoly, so it kind of makes it more of a simple life, but you connect with the person next to you more, and you're not quite like in isolation so much as you would be with your phone, that type of thing.
Which is important. I think we have, as a world, gotten away from that, like that grandma experience of, and everybody didn't have a grandma, because I had a grandma that lived on a dirt road. Yeah. So I had that experience of, my summers were hot. We were back in the woods where, I mean, you could do anything. I mean, you could shoot something. You could.
Yep.
Fishing was right across if you walked down the dirt road. But those type of experiences, they develop you. They have, there's something ingrained, even I would say even a spirit of humility, because you're reminded, this is where my grandmother grew up. Like my grandmother, and I'm gonna tie this back in. My grandmother didn't even, have a high school education.
Yeah.
But those things, and seeing how all of that unfolds and it goes through generations, and how Farmer Fredo has went through this experience, and even the simple fact of what you said about how it developed an even greater appreciation for humanity. And I think most times there's just this underlining ignorance because we haven't even really experienced it. Yeah. We don't even know how to embrace cultures, right? If you've only grown up in your particular community, you won't appreciate what's happening in Costa Rica. You won't appreciate what's happening in Africa. You won't appreciate what's happening in Ukraine because you've never experienced it.
That's right.
And so as you open yourself up to experience other cultures, then there's a greater appreciation, not only for humanity, but how God creates people.
That's right.
Like how, even their beliefs, I think for me, my experience has been, I grew up in the beginning where I just grew up only around people that look like me. And you can tell how that affects you when you come out of it. Because you're like, why am I? And then you will start to embrace, you go on mission trips, you go to Spanish-speaking countries, you go all those places, and it expands you because you begin to see things differently. And so Farmer Fredo has had that experience, and he's telling you, even in his story, that's how he got to this point. One thing I do want to say is, when I think of you, and understand, I know there are people who tune into this that come and get business advice, but there's also a faith aspect too. So when I think of you as a modern day Joseph. I really do. And
that's my dude in the Bible.
Yes.
I think everybody need to have one person in the Bible that they see themselves as, right? Yeah. Where you can, I always remember like sermons where they say like, take that name in the Bible and put yourself within it, right?
Yeah.
And so the Joseph story has always been like my story.
Wow.
And I always like the fact that he prepared the community for a famine, right? But the end of the story was that he took his family to Goshen, right? And so I've always looked at life's ups and downs. They're going to happen, and Joseph's story is filled with ups and downs. But you're always going to be in a position where you can do God's work, despite the ups and the downs. And so with his story, I've always I'm glad that Genesis from like chapter 48, whatever it might be, to the end is all of who he is. But the simplicity of, you never saw him lose it, right? Like despite getting thrown into a hole, despite getting sold off to slavery, betrayed, despite getting accused, thrown into prison, despite being forgotten about, you never heard him put God's name in vain, and you never heard him put his family's name in vain, and I think that's really key to like how God can move with you, right? Like, it's part of the plan. You meant it for this, but God meant it for good. Yes. Like that's his line. And so I'm always thankful for that, and I'm honored and humbled that you reference that particular individual within the good book. Yeah. Because that's like anybody that knows me knows, like I'll probably do a whole Bible study series just so Joseph, and probably bring Joseph up at least twice a year.
See, the thing is, and I think there's more prophetic than people realize. When I pray for you, that's what I see. And I think the thing is that one thing that we don't realize is there are food insecurities, are communities that don't have, we may think in America that every community has the food that they need, but that is not true. And so when I think about how Farmer Fredo is meeting a need every single day in Southwest Georgia, and that's not just, Farmer Fredo just woke up and is like, oh, this is it. No, that's God. That's God using him. And I see it so clearly as God using him to make sure even when there is a famine, I just know God's going to make sure that you have storehouses that meet the community's needs. And I know you've already been doing that in many years, but I think we're going to see in my prayer, and something that I kind of see in the future. I am prophetic, so I'm not going to go into it. But I will say this: I don't think we've fully even seen the impact of your work yet. We've seen it, but I don't think we've fully seen it. And I think there's going to come in the upcoming years, if not sooner, we're going to see why God put you here. And here's the thing about Joseph. Joseph, I'm sorry if I'm here. Let me stop apologizing. Now, this is where I'm at. Joseph went through betrayal. Joseph was accused. Joseph had all these things that people said of him, right? But the purposes of God still prevailed in Joseph.
Right.
And here's the thing: no matter what he was accused of, God still showed up, and God made sure that when the time came, when the set time came, he showed up, and God used him not only to help Egypt, but to help the world.
That's right.
And so those are when I think about Farmer Fredo, y'all, that's what I think about. And I know that there's so much more that's coming out of what you're doing. So I had to tell you that I don't know if I've ever said that to you,
haven't.
but it's been something that's been in my heart for probably months or years now. When I pray for you, that's what I see. I see a modern day Joseph that God is going to use, is using, and is going to use in a greater impact. That's make sure Southwest Georgia doesn't die in a famine. And I know by the Spirit you've sent some things too. So and if not, the Lord gonna show you some things. But there are things that I know by the Spirit, and so anything you want to say on that, or move on?
No, yeah. And so to that point of preparation.
Yeah.
So I remember, so when we started Flint River Fresh, our focus originally was on farm to school. Mm-hmm. So it was really about helping schools establish school gardens, showing kids, how to grow things and raise garden boxes, and that's how we started. And so maybe like a year or two after we were founded, we had tornadoes come through Albany. Mm-hmm. And so when the tornadoes hit, because of the relationships that Flint River Fresh, we're also part of the Flint River Soil Water Conservation District. Mm-hmm. And so the Conservation District works with farmers to make sure that they are doing sustainable agricultural practices, conservation practices, but in a nutshell, making sure that Mother Earth is here for the generations and generations to come. Mm-hmm. And so when these tornadoes came through, you had people that were looking for food, looking for resources. And it just so happened we had just started building with farmers in the areas. So we were able to, whatever they had in the field, put it together in boxes and just give the people in need. Then a couple months later, another tornado happened. Mm-hmm. And then a couple months later, a hurricane happens. Mm-hmm. Then a couple months later, we have COVID. Yeah. And if it wasn't because of the relationships, like I always tell people, like during COVID, from February, when Albany became like number 4 per capita in the world of people dying from COVID, and our board gave us permission to utilize our funds to redirect it to go purchase produce from farmers, to purchase food from restaurants that were closing. Like we literally saw from February to like April, every week we were distributing like 125 like meals and boxes of produce. In addition to that, we were able to work with farmers and make produce boxes. We had volunteers that would meet us at the Fifth Avenue Community Garden. We would take boxes to people that were homebound. Mm-hmm. And so literally during the COVID pandemic for 4 or 5 months, we probably did about 3,000 or so boxes easily. And it was just, we know the people, we got a connection. And I literally remember just using old school Google Gmail, making like a Google form, telling people to meet me at the garden, and me literally using like Google Maps to develop our own UPS drop-off system and say, okay, you got Palmyra, okay, you have this neighborhood, you have this neighborhood, and then watching people in the community support. But then we had people that would drive in from Americas, that would drive in from Dawson, and so it kind of showed that the core vision for Flint River Fresh that we've always communicated is that we wanted to create a model for food, make food more accessible that could be replicated through in other rural communities. And we saw a glimpse of it during COVID, and now we're really like seeing like a glimpse of it, because now we get asked to come to, Charlotte, North Carolina, to come to Jackson, Mississippi, to come up to Birmingham, Alabama, and just share how we do our youth, agriculture, and entrepreneurship work. Because that's been the piece that jumped in my spirit after COVID was, you could do all these great works and people could know you, but what if they had, you had like some young senseis behind you, right? That picked it up, have the same passion for serving people, have the same passion for agriculture, not even passion for agriculture, maybe they just like to be outdoors. And they're able to see through your relationship, your impact, that they can serve the seniors in their neighborhood, or they can learn to run their own farm stand. And my new thing I've been about lately, part of why we were doing like the trainings and stuff here at Innovate Hub, was about teaching people to look at their farm more than just like a place just growing vegetables, right? Because as you kind of hear at the Cornelia story, like a farm that's based in community is a natural place for people to get away from the hustle and bustle of their work life. It also becomes like a destination for parents that are trying to raise their kids to kind of know where their food comes from, but just give them like a break. And so we really are trying to show farmers how you can take 2 or 3 acres of land, make it where you're growing what's in season, invite people in the community to come out, pick for themselves, allow for their kids to pick. You want to see joy? Take a 2-year-old baby, let them hop out that stroller, go to a patch where there's nothing but carrots planted, and have them wiggle in the dirt and pull a carrot up. Man, you would think they don't went to like Disney World. They face light up because it's a carrot. So the only thing they see is the green top, right? But once they start to wiggle it, and then that long orange carrot pops up, because everybody has a relationship to carrots because of Bugs Bunny.
That's what I was thinking of. I was like,
and so, but to watch their face, right? But then you take them to like a strawberry patch and say, go pick this strawberry up, and just watch it just chow down on a strawberry freshly picked. And so to that kid, they naturally have a connection to, if it's growing outside, it's joy and it's not drudgery.
Imagine turning your business into a brand people can't stop talking about. Marketing that matters. The Entrepreneur's Guide to Growth and Success by Corey Holman. It's your blueprint for building unstoppable momentum. This book is packed with innovative ideas, action steps, and game-changing insights that you can use right now. Are you ready to disrupt your industry? Don't wait. Grab your copy now on Amazon and start dominating your market today.
So part of what we're doing is that by doing these small scale farming communities, we're able to introduce people to where their food comes from. Then also they get to hear the story of a farmer. Like, I enjoy sitting back and doing what I'm doing with you to everyday people. Like, no, just come on through. We can sit on the porch. I tell you everything that's happening. But letting them connect to their food. But then the flip side is they are now advocates for us as farmers.
Yeah.
So when they hear about things going on like the Farm Bill, like in D.C., or they're hearing about not enough food, where can we get more food and stuff from, they have a relationship to an actual grower that can show them how to grow it in their backyard, but can also show them how we're doing these conservation practices that you might just hear buzzwords about, but while we're trying to get things put in place, or while we're trying to get DC, a local government, to support creating more community farm plots, creating more resources so we can have more smaller scale farmers that are within a 30-minute drive of most cities of about 50,000 people or more, you know? So that way you don't have to worry about if your food gets to ship from Atlanta to come to you. It's like, no, just go 30 minutes outside of your Albany, Georgia, about 5 or 10 acres. We could probably take care of about 5,000 people pretty easy with fresh produce half the time out the year, right?
Yeah.
But showing that it's doable and that the community can really be a part of it, and that's been like the blessing with these trainings we've done here at Innovate Hub, because like now the garden space, yeah, you could pick, but I was joking earlier about we had an event where we would have people going goat walking. You ever just said, yeah, people walk their dogs all the time, but let's go walk some goats. Or better yet, have you ever rode on a horse before? Mm-hmm. No, let's just get somebody with some horses, do assisted horseback riding. Or better yet, ever been to a pumpkin patch? No, we got pumpkins, we got everything. But it's to introduce the simpler way of living, right? But it's so natural, and like I told people, part of the thing about that camp that I did with the young people is that, like, our first real assignment from the Creator was to be caretakers of the earth, right? And so if you never watered a plant before, you're not like, what does a caretaker look like? Well, a caretaker looks simply like a farmer, get up early, pulling some weeds out, tending to it, harvest it, and like the harvest is automatically designed to be shared.
Yeah.
Like it's never designed to be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna keep all this into my storehouse. Like, nah. God made these plants, when they produce a seed, they produce hundreds of seeds.
That's true.
So that lets you know it ain't never meant for one person, one entity, but it is meant for us as caretakers of the earth to take care of it enough to be able to share with somebody, again, that is less fortunate or doesn't have the ability, doesn't have the space or land, doesn't have those resources to provide for them. And the blessing, like I said, through the tornado, the hurricane, and COVID was how many businesses and individuals within our community were the financial backers of the work. So was it like, no, it was literally like mom and pop businesses, even local farmers that were contributing to us giving back to the people that were without.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation of what keeps me motivated, keeps me believing that, like what you said earlier, down the road, everything gonna work itself out, because I've seen it where individuals and community members themselves have supported this work and are continually supporting this work and continually like opening up doors that, like I can't even like speak on it, because people always ask like, how did you do this? How did you do this? How do I do this? I'm like, look, I might be the wrong person to ask because like God favor just different.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I don't know how we started working with schools.
I think it's one of those things that people don't realize, especially, and so this podcast helps entrepreneurs too. And so the idea is that Farmer Fredo has implemented is the power of collaboration. Understanding that you cannot work alone, you cannot be in an island by yourself to produce what God has put on the inside of you. And so even the simple fact of what Farmer Fredo was talking about, even in the seed of are the seeds that are found in a strawberry or any type of fruit. It is meant for us to produce more. It is meant for us to share it. It is meant for us. And I think when we talk about harvest, we always think about money. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear church talk about harvest, or we think about souls. But even for the simple fact you bringing it down to earth, because when the Bible talks about harvest, is using that as an example. It is showing us how the earth can reproduce within itself.
Yeah.
And so Farmer Fredo is an example of that, of how you must work together. But he says something here, and most of our guests say the same thing, is the simple fact that it's the favor of God. That the favor of God is simply his undeserving grace that shows up in such a way where you do what you can within your power, and then you have an indivisible partner, as I say, that comes in and steps in and does the rest. And he's been able to do that for our community and beyond. And so how can local leaders, churches, and partners connect with the mission of what you're doing?
So one of the ways, one of our very first avenues was we attempted to establish what we call faith gardens.
Okay.
So faith is an acronym that stands for food available in the home. And so one of the ways that we try to connect with like churches, civic groups, is that we offer, now we're moving to more of an online platform, but where we train people how to start community gardens. We train people how to grow food in their backyards. We're even moving towards a way of training people how to set up like the pop-up farm stands or the food boxes that we do. And so one way of connecting is like something as simple as calling us up or going to our website.
Okay.
Sending an email to us at info@flintriverfresh.org.
Okay.
And then what we're looking at is like maybe we can set up like a 15-minute, like a 30-minute conversation to kind of see where you're at and to see how we can partner. We can share resources with you as well. And then we also just invite groups to come to like Albany and just see what we do like on the ground, you know? So maybe taking, I can always remember like these groups at Columbus, like driving down just to see our Fifth Avenue garden site, or taking people over to 4C and see like the hydroponic greenhouse, and being able to talk about the youth and like enterprise aspect of it. And so that's one way. And then also, I mean, if you haven't heard my voice, I would really love just to be able to come into different church spaces and just kind of like just share our story and share how we look out for one another, how we support people less fortunate, but then also just like how even within like the church community, I'm giggling now because I always remember when I was part of like my koinonia phase, like my mom, she goes to Good News Ministries in America. Shout out to Bishop Wallace. And I remember when I first got like the green thumb itch, I was like, I'm gonna start selling collard greens at church. And I started selling collard greens at church. So they gave me a space in the annex where I could bring in like collards, mustard, and turnip greens, and literally. People would at the church, they would like buy it at the church service.
Yep.
And I would have an abundance that I would be able to set up outside in the church parking lot. People just driving down the street, came on the church grounds, got some greens. And so it was all about, for me, I was just like, look, I grew this. Like, or if I didn't grow it, like these came from Mr. James' farm or Mr. Morel's farm, and some black farmers in Vienna and Montezuma that, I'm just happy to be their mouthpiece for them and stuff like that. And so that's just ways that different community groups can be involved, is maybe you have and since we're talking about entrepreneurship and people starting a business, like one of the things that you want to find is like who's your audience, right? And like where's my target audience like located? Like where can I get the most return based on my time and energy?
Yeah.
And so at a church, you might have 50 people, you might have 250.
Yeah.
But if you could approach that church with about wellness, healthy eating, is there a way we could collaborate? That church, and I use Good News Ministries as an example, like they were pretty regular customers of my collard greens, turnip greens, and mustards, right? And so even with the youth, we kind of talk about that they're part of like the band or they're part of a civic club. And so maybe they're able to approach their group as a fundraiser versus doing Krispy Kreme donuts. They might be able to do a strawberry cut collard green type sale. Same concept, but it promotes for that young person. You know how to grow greens, you know how to grow strawberries, you know how to grow corn, peas. Now you're exposing your skill and the product of it to the audience that you're already around.
Yeah.
So you're not like I tell people all the time, if a young person comes up to you that's genuine, integral, and they're like, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, what you want to buy this watermelon from me? They're going to be shocked, number one, that you selling watermelon.
Yeah.
Shock number two, that you said ma'am or sir, and then that you actually have a product that benefits them, right? And that's just fruits and vegetables. And so I always say like I always used to crack jokes because back in the day I used to have like dreadlocks and the whole nine about like I'm selling a different type of green. So you want a part of this? And yeah.
I didn't know you had dreads.
Man, yeah. There's a picture of me that like my wife has and my mom has. I had like dreadlocks, and it's like a picture of me right beside T.I. when I was doing like the music stuff. And so yeah, I had like dreads the whole nine for about 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So listening to this, you all. So I would encourage you all, especially churches that serve a population 50 or more or less. I mean, even just bringing Farmer Fredo to come in to talk about this wellness, talk about these things, even talk about, because if you go to any really these schools locally, he's helped them with food boxes and making sure that they have like not just food boxes, but like a garden on site. And I think that's beneficial too, is churches making sure that you have, let's not just preach it, let's live it, let's eat it, so that we can live longer and have it on our property. If you have it available, I don't see why not. But here's the thing. We sow into Farmer Fredo. We don't just ask him to come. And I know Farmer Fredo going to be like, I'll do it for free, but no, we sow because this is type of work. You said no.
Well, the other reason why I lean towards it now is that the need.
Yeah.
So like if like I always tell people, like now because of the work that we do with the young people, like you have to transport them.
Yeah,
you have to feed them. It has costs that are involved.
Everything does.
And one thing you kind of triggered, I forgot to mention, in addition to work with young people, we have been able to work with groups of farmers and help to get their produce inside like our schools as well.
Yeah.
And so throughout like the school year, we had the hydroponic lettuce at Fort C that we're delivering to schools here in Dougherty County. But then we also have like a network of black farmers that we work with, a co-op in particular called the New North Florida Cooperative, and they grow sweet corn, collard greens, peas, snap beans, on and so forth. But we're able to work with them, work with different school districts, and that's kind of how we're able to get some of the support that we've gotten from some of our senators and congressmen, because they know that Flint River Fresh's work isn't just Dougherty County, that in the past year, we've helped deliver produce to Sumter County, Lee County, Mitchell County, Seminole County, as well as Turner County. And that's just, farmer has this order, we reach out to the school nutrition director, and they're like, hey, we have some funds that are available. And so that becomes another income stream for a small farmer that they didn't necessarily have. And then we're able to take, again, that extra, that abundance from that harvest and serve the schools. We're able to take that abundance and harvest and work with local health clinics like Albany Area Primary Health Care, Valley Healthcare in Columbus, and do a program that we call Fresh RX. And that's literally a 6 to 8 week health, wellness, nutrition education, gardening class that's done in partnership with the Department of Public Health, Wholesome Wave Georgia, and other groups. And it's literally about let us walk beside someone that's on a health journey and give them the peer-to-peer support that they need to make better health decisions. Yeah. And so we're currently looking at how we can take that same model and roll it out to a younger generation. So like high school age students, they be able to teach them about like cooking, nutrition education. Like I told people for the summertime for our youth program, we incorporated a curriculum called Cooking Matters in addition to just gardening. So they would garden in the morning, afternoon, we had another young person that was 20 years old that went to Albany Tech, learned culinary skills, and she was teaching them about whole grains, teaching them about how to make, scrambled eggs, how to boil water to make noodles. But we realized that unless somebody taught you at home, and a lot of times with most of our young kids that are growing up in environments where their parents are working 2 jobs, they're home by themselves, they haven't learned just the basic like cooking skills.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we were able to teach them that. And in addition to that, we have also reached out to different like fitness centers to just learn basic, I call it like ROTC stuff, but push-ups, sit-ups, all that. Because again, PE, after a certain age, isn't your thing unless you're in the sports. But we all know movement is good for everybody. Yeah. And so we have incorporated that type of stuff as well. And so you kind of like triggered it when you kind of mentioned like, oh, I guess you're right. When you look at social media, I do have a lot going on.
Which is amazing. And that just shows the impact of you all's work. And that's why we wanted to make sure that you did get on this episode and this podcast, because you are an example that shows, because sometimes we don't think of farmers as being entrepreneurs, but they are the same, and they work extremely hard, and so those are things that we want to highlight on this podcast. The simple fact that he is a man of faith. He's a man. He told me, he said, one of the reasons I want to work with you because I know you love your wife, and that just speaks to a character of Farmer Fredo, because you want to make sure you're working with people who, if you love your wife, you'll make sure all these other things that I give you, as he said, will be taken care of. And so we're honored to have you here today. Is there any last words that you want to share before we wrap this up?
Well, I think you kind of said it as well. I love you, baby. Like if I'm on this camera, let her know I love you. I love my boys. I love my aunties, love my uncles. I love all my family. If I got the opportunity. So, like I tell people, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them. And again, I just hope that you guys hear the conversation. Yeah. And please reach out. Like I said, I'm definitely open. We're opening ourselves up to doing, like 15-minute, 30-minute sort of just conversation with people that are interested in how we do what we do. And again, I'm just here because of the grace of God. Yeah. And again, I just thank you, Corey, and all the work and stuff that you guys do for the space you guys have created as well. Because again, we've utilized this space for trainings, for workshops. Your team is dynamic. Like I enjoy coming in, doing my little reels and stuff and cracking jokes and stuff like that as well. So I just wish, I pray for growth. I pray for overflow, and I just pray for not enough room, and I think this is, again, I just want to just come out and just show God is real. God's goodness, favor is real. And if you just trust him, seek ye first.
Yes.
The kingdom. And all these things, and I just got one last testimony.
Go ahead.
So when I started this project of like Flint River Fresh, my wife can attest to it. Like when I was a farmer going off to like farmers markets, like, and I would make $75 a month selling produce. And I remember talking to God. I said, look here, Lord, I got a wife, I got a son. I'm doing this to promote you.
Yeah.
And there's no way my relationship would last off of $75 a month. Just being honest with you.
Yeah.
So we gotta open up some new avenues. We gotta do something. And lo and behold, maybe a couple months, like I remember like praying this like in June, and my son Steven was starting like his going into third grade. And at the time, the nutrition director, Blaine Allen, he kind of approached me. We have these school gardens here in Dougherty County, and we don't necessarily really know what to do with it. Can you help us? And I was like, yep, I can help. $75 a month now. Like, yeah, like, are you talking about doing stuff for free? I was like, oh, Lord, you know, it's my son's school, so I got to do it. But that opened up other doors and relationships, and it literally was just, was it driven by, like, I just want to be able to take care of my wife, take care of my son, have a decent living, be able like to travel. And so, and that's why I'm always like, don't get so caught up on the bag or try to get the money first. Think about how you can serve and just make an impact, and the rest will just come.
Yes.
Because again, we're going into like our 9th year as a nonprofit. Most people will tell you it's hard for a nonprofit to be around, and we're still relevant.
Yeah.
We're still growing, and it's still based in that simple conversation I had earlier. Like, I just want to serve, help people that don't have resources, and allow for us to be an avenue, a funnel to help out others.
Yeah.
And that's been our hat that we can hang our heads on. And that's been, again, why other organizations, local government has been willing to partner with us, because, again, they know that we're not here for the glam or the shine.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and my wife can tell you this too, I would prefer that I wasn't on a billboard.
Yeah.
I would prefer that I didn't do that television interview. I prefer that I wasn't on that magazine. Because at the end of the day, I want somebody just to know that I was sitting at home and my stomach started growling and there was a knock at the door. And when I opened up the door, it was just some food there waiting for me. That's all it's ever been. And having other people to be, like they say, you're the hands, we're the feet, we're the eyes, we're all of that for the kingdom. Yeah. So I just want to give you another tool that allows for you to serve God's people, be a vessel for God's good work, and be able to show others what the benefit of it could look like. And that's like my closing thing. So again, I'm gonna look at the camera on this one. I not just teasing. So that's it.
That's powerful. I think that's powerful. And I think all of us have had that point at some point in our journey in entrepreneurship. It's just like, God, listen, the numbers ain't numbering, but the purpose is what keeps you going and waking you up, and the passion for that. And so thank you for sharing that testimony. I know those type of testimonies are when God really speaks to people, because someone could really be watching this right now who is having in that moment of entrepreneurship, and they're just like, God, I went full time in this, because I had the same that first year or two. It's amazing to see what God does over time. But here's the thing that I wanted to mention, and we're going to wrap this up, is the Bible talks about those who humble themselves, and in due time, you will reap. He will exalt you. And I think what Farmer Fredo said is so true about most kingdom believers. We don't really desire the spotlight. But what happens is as you humble yourself, that's a key principle, God does it.
Yep.
In his timing, in his own way. And so as you do that's the key. That's the key ingredient of any area of life. Humble yourself, and in due time, God will exalt you. Yep. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode with Farmer Fredo. We're honored that you joined us here today. Listen, stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And make sure you check out Farmer Fredo at flintriverfresh.com.
.org.
flintriverfresh.org. And make sure you give towards this mission. We thank you so much. We'll see you next time.